CBS Tuesday. Frosty's back to back.
Let's make a party out of it.
And he's cooler than ever. Celebrate the 12 days of Christmas with Frosty and Frosty Returns. Tuesday.
It's time for News 2 at noon with Cindy Hsu, Jim Rosenfield, and Ira Joe Fisher with weather.
And good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our new home for News 2 at noon.
Starting today, we're coming to you live from our new studio on 5th Avenue, right in the heart of Midtown Manhattan. Now let's get to our top story. We start with another shooting in a school. We're now told that 5 students were shot. It happened just before 8 o'clock this morning in Oklahoma. News 2 reporter Marcella Palmer is here now with the very latest breaking details. Marcella.
Cindy, Jim, details are still coming in. We do know a 13-year-old student is in custody right now. Police also found a 9mm handgun believed to be the weapon the suspect used. The shooting happened in Fort Gibson, about 50 miles southeast of Tulsa, just before the start of classes at 8 this morning.
The simple, innocent act of going to school has once again ended in gunfire. This time, middle school students in Oklahoma are the victims. The suspect, a 7th grade student. Fort Gibson school officials say just before 8 a.m., the boy walked up to a group of students waiting outside for the morning bell to ring. They say he pulled out a gun and opened fire. At least 3 students were wounded, 2 boys. One of them shot in both arms and 1 boy shot in the leg. And a 12-year-old girl shot in the cheek was put on this helicopter and airlifted to the hospital. School officials say they never thought they'd have a Columbine type of terror coursing through this tiny town of just 3,500, but they thought they were prepared, just in case.
You would like to think you'll make it so secure that nothing could happen. I think we'll all be conscious of it and try to do things. I'm not sure a school district can ever do enough to make it totally safe. We're too vulnerable. You know, we have 2,000 kids running around here and lots of entrance and exit doors.
School is, of course, out now for the rest of the day. Parents rush to the school to pick up their children. One parent who says he knows the young suspect says this is a surprise.
One of the boys that we had went to church with had done the shooting, and that's all we've heard. And one of our neighbors was a boy that was shot.
You said you were surprised that he wouldn't be the type of child that you would expect to do something like this.
He's had gone on a ski trip with my daughter and my wife this last year, and he's a wonderful kid.
All of the students are in fair condition at this hour. Now, it is worth noting here, the superintendent of schools says because of tragedies like Columbine, he put cameras in the high school. The middle school was next. That's where this shooting happened. It's still on the list to have cameras installed.
Marcella, thanks. And, of course, we'll have more coming up today on News 2 at 5 o'clock. We also have a late-breaking development this noon on the murder of a billionaire banker. Prosecutors say Edmund Safra's nurse now admits to setting the fire that killed the banker. The American nurse confessed while he was being questioned by police. Safra was killed on Friday in Monaco. The founder of New York's Republic Bank suffocated during a suspicious fire in his apartment. The 41-year-old nurse, Ted Maher, originally told police he was stabbed by 2 hooded men who burst into the apartment and then set the fire. Today, meantime, Safra was remembered for his generosity. Dozens of people attended services in Ocean Parkway, Brooklyn. Safra attended services there when he was in town. He donated millions to this synagogue.
He built our shul. He donates to every possible creature on earth. He's the most philanthropic man I've ever met.
Funeral services for Safra were held also today in Geneva. He was then buried in a town near the border with France.
A 10-year-old child was hit and killed this morning by a school bus. The young boy was trying to cross the street. It happened in Elmhurst, Queens. News 2 reporter Paul Floranges is live at the scene with the latest. Paul.
Well, Cindy, the height of rush hour, a busy intersection, and a rain-slick roadway, all factors that played a role in this tragedy. The end result, a 10-year-old boy struck and killed by a school bus loaded with children as he and his mother tried to cross this intersection right behind me. It was shortly after 8 this morning when the child and his mother were crossing this busy intersection at Broadway and Baxter Street in Elmhurst. DOT worker Harold LePessiere and other members of his crew were standing about a block away and witnessed the horrible scene unfold.
And the next thing I see was like the bus made the left turn, and right there, it happened so fast that I was not panicked a little bit. It was just like I was running towards the bus to try to stop the bus from not hitting the child.
By the time Harold and his crew got the driver's attention, it was too late.
And the next thing I knew is the kid was knocked with the bumper, the mother was knocked out on the other side, and that was it. It's just like it was tragic. It was a very bad accident.
From what LePessier and others say, the bus driver, shown here talking to accident investigators, didn't realize he had hit anyone. By the time he and others reached the boy and his mother, it was clear the 10-year-old was seriously injured. But as it happens, the accident occurred across the street from Elmhurst Hospital's emergency room. That's where Mike Marabello ran to get help.
It took them about 10 minutes to get over here.
Really? Even though they're right across the street?
It took them a little while, yeah.
Did that surprise you?
Yeah, it does.
Now, the hospital says the mother was also treated. She's in stable condition now. The hospital also tells us that a doctor on his way from work stopped to try to help the boy here, as did a nurse and doctor from the emergency room. EMS says they got the call at 8:09 and were on the scene within minutes. Now, the driver was given a summons for failure to yield to a pedestrian in the crosswalk. Police say their accident investigation is continuing. Reporting live in Elmhurst, Queens, Paul Floranges, News 2.
Thank you, Paul. A terrifying morning on Fifth Avenue. A van crashed through the window of a Brooks Brothers store. One woman was hurt. News 2 reporter John Slattery has that story.
All lit up, it looked like a scene from a movie. A commercial van on Fifth Avenue plowed into a picture window in front of the new Brooks Brothers store, injuring one woman.
Incredible, man. I hear a lady was bleeding from the ear or something.
It happened at 8:15 this morning on Fifth Avenue at 53rd. The driver of the van said he was coming down Fifth Avenue when another vehicle rear-ended him and forced him up onto the sidewalk. As the van careened out of control onto the sidewalk, it struck a woman who just crossed the street. Workers inside Brooks Brothers heard the enormous crash and ran outside.
It's terrible. She was laying in the rain. Picture it, you laying in the rain, bleeding. Bad thing.
The pedestrian, a 58-year-old woman, was taken to Bellevue with a non-life-threatening head injury. Even though the store had not yet opened, the crash had people who work in the store a little shaken.
It's a disaster for the person who got injured. Thank God no other people were on the street to get hurt. It's a good thing it happened at this time of the morning instead of later on.
It was certainly an unusual sight for the thousands of passers-by walking in the rain on their way to work.
Terrible. I'm very surprised about it.
The driver of the van was taken to New York Hospital. Police are still investigating to see if another vehicle was involved. In Midtown, John Slattery, News 2.
As it turns out, the woman who was hurt suffered just some bumps and bruises. She's a Salvation Army volunteer. The little boy from Cuba who was rescued off the coast of Florida is actually celebrating his birthday today. But that celebration is overshadowed by an international custody battle and a new round of protests in Cuba. News 2 reporter David Diaz has that story.
If Elian Gonzalez didn't know much about Cuba-U.S. relations before, he's learning about them now. On the same weekend that direct flights from New York to Havana resumed, Fidel Castro was demanding the U.S. return the boy to Cuba within 72 hours. The 5-year-old was rescued off the Florida coast Thanksgiving Day. His mother was among a dozen people fleeing Cuba who drowned in an overcrowded boat. His father says the boy's mother took him out of Cuba without his knowledge and wants his son returned to him and his grandparents. Castro didn't specify what he would do if the U.S. doesn't meet the deadline for the boy's return, but he did say he will move heaven and earth to get the boy back. There will be millions of people in the streets demanding the boy's freedom. In preparation for the protest, Cuba beefed up security forces outside the U.S. mission in Havana, even as the U.S. heightened its own security there. In Miami, Elian has been taken in by relatives who want him to stay in the U.S. permanently.
There is no future for the kid to go back there. For what? You know, then when he gets 15, 16 years old, he's going to try to come back again.
The Clinton administration says Elian's custody should be decided by Florida courts. And legal experts say the courts may have to resolve two conflicting principles: the child's custody, which in most cases goes to the surviving biological parent, and his immigration status. A 1966 law grants any Cuban who reaches American soil the right to stay. So it's a kind of a Solomon-esque type situation for whatever judge winds up hearing it in Florida.
Sure is.
David, thank you. Dozens of people spent last night on beds of cement in Union Square Park. They were protesting the mayor's new policy on homeless shelters. In short, it says you can't sleep on the street, but you won't be allowed in a shelter unless you work for it. The group says turning people away from shelters and arresting them doesn't solve any problems.
I don't want a shelter. I want a home. We need a living wage
that we can provide housing in this free market, this free trade society.
The protesters had planned to set up a shanty town made of cardboard boxes, but police said that wasn't allowed. Authorities also threatened to arrest the protesters if they went to sleep.
One of the 4 police officers charged in the killing of African immigrant Amadou Diallo is breaking his silence. Richard Murphy tells New York Magazine that he and his other officers involved feel terrible for the Diallo family. Murphy and 3 other members of the street crime unit are accused of firing 41 shots at the unarmed Diallo. He was hit 19 times. Their murder trial is set to begin January 3rd. New concern this noon for Cardinal O'Connor's health. He did not celebrate Mass yesterday at St. Patrick's Cathedral. A spokesman said John Cardinal O'Connor felt weak in his legs and his doctors advised him to rest. Cardinal has missed several Masses during his recovery from brain surgery in August, and in the past month he's fallen and stumbled while celebrating Mass.
Much more ahead on News 2 at noon. Nothing but silence. That's the story from the latest mission to Mars. We'll have an update.
Also, the search for a group of teenagers who took off from a camping trip for troubled kids.
And in your noon health watch, how the foods you eat affect how you feel in winter weather.
And he's been called one of the sexiest men around. Now a new honor for actor Sean Connery. Stay with News 2 at noon.
Pin drop.
Search crews are combing a desolate Utah desert this morning for a group of boys that escaped from a camp for troubled teenagers. On Saturday, 7 boys, 2 of them from our area, beat one of their camp counselors unconscious, then tied 2 of them up. Police say the boys took off with sleeping bags, a day's worth of food, and a radio to listen to police communications. Police now believe the boys have split up into 2 groups. The county sheriff says if they survive the hostile environment, they'll still be in serious trouble.
They're in trouble to begin with, or they wouldn't be part of the program. But certainly they're in trouble now because they've committed a felony assault.
The teenagers on the run range in age from 14 to 16 years old. Search crews say frigid temperatures and rough terrain will make it hard to survive.
Nearly 3 days after it was supposed to touch down, there has still been no contact from the Mars polar lander. Anxious scientists are using the deep space network of antennas to try to listen for any signal from the craft. They're theorizing the lander is on the surface of Mars in what they're calling an electronic hibernation. But until contact is made, they can't know exactly what's happening.
It's the part where you're landing where things get really hard, and you know, it doesn't take much to have a problem.
NASA will try once again to reach the lander tonight. If this attempt fails, though, it could spell doom for the more than $300 million Mars 98 project.
Well, a wild Monday ride on Wall Street. For more on that and other business news, let's go live to CBS Market Watch and Alexis Christoforous. Hi, Alexis.
Hi, Cindy. We've got a lot of indecision on Wall Street today. Following last week's big run-up, investors appear to be a bit more cautious today, and so far it has been very choppy trading. Here's a check of the numbers. The Dow is down about 4 points right now, but the NASDAQ Composite is powering ahead into record territory once again on a gain of 36 points. AT&T, the big story of the day, it's making a string of big announcements. First, the long-distance phone giant plans to create a new cellular company to be called AT&T Wireless Group. The tracking stock will reflect the booming performance of AT&T's wireless business. That new stock will be launched in the spring, and reports say it could be the biggest initial stock offering ever in this country. On that news, shares of AT&T up 1 1/8. AT&T also plans to give competing internet providers access to its high-speed cable lines. The move might ease fears about AT&T gaining too much control over what information reaches consumers' homes. And also today, expect a change at the top at Coca-Cola. In a surprise move, Coke's chairman and CEO Douglas Ivester will retire in April, just 2.5 years after taking the helm at the beverage giant. That move comes as Coke struggles to recover from a rocky period. Its stock price has sagged in recent months, and over the summer, it was forced to recall some products in Europe. The stock under pressure today in active trading. It's down nearly $4. Live at CBS Market Watch, I'm Alexis Christoforous for News 2. Jim, Cindy, back to you in your new digs. They look great.
Alexis, thank you very much. Now, if you want more financial news from the markets, visit our CBS 2 website. The address is www.cbs2ny.com.
Your Health Watch is next on News 2. We're going to show you how to fight the cold weather from your kitchen.
Find out which foods can warm you up and which ones will leave you cold when you're heading out to face the elements.
Yeah, talk about facing the elements. Ira's outside. He's ready with your wet SkyTrack 2000 forecast. Hi, Ira.
Hi, Jim. Hi, Cindy. We're 3 floors above you, and yes, we are embracing the weather. Your full forecast and mine, too. We're in this together. Is coming up. Stay tuned.
And see Stuart Little in theaters. Opens December 17th.
Callista Flockhart's moonlighting job, Gwyneth Paltrow's lost Shakespeare in Love scene, and the Blair Witch Girl on E.T.
Tonight at 7 on CBS-2.
In your noon health watch on a cold, rainy day, you know you need a raincoat, but you may also want to check just what's on your dinner plate to help fight the cold. Nutrition experts say some foods actually have a warming effect. Foods high in carbohydrates, such as breads, pastas, fruits, and dairy products, they'll all generate body heat, some for up to 3 hours. Liquids with carbohydrates reach the stomach sooner and act even faster. There are some foods you'll want to avoid also if you're heading out into the cold.
Foods like nuts or eggs or chicken or meat or fish, any food that's high in protein does not generate heat.
If you need a quick warm-up, try adding a little spice. Dietitians say spicy foods not only taste hot, they dilate blood vessels and they warm you up for, about an hour. I'm hungry.
I wonder if Ira Joe Fisher could use that. You're up on the roof
Probably
outside with the SkyTrack 2000 forecast. How is it up there, Ira?
What kind of food should you have on a rainy day, Cindy or Jim?
Pastas, they'll warm you up. Is it a little chilly out there for you?
No, it's not chilly, although I'm wearing my gloves just so you guys will feel sorry for me. Yeah, it's real chilly. No, it's really quite mild, but just as we started to talk about this subject of weather, the rain began right on cue. How sweet is that? Let's set the scene for the neighborhood where we are. Over my left shoulder is 59th Street at Central Park South. Moving off to the west there, Central Park and its leafless trees. And over my right shoulder is, of course, the legendary, much-storied Plaza Hotel and Bergdorf Goodman and, well, the rest of Midtown Manhattan. As far as the weather's concerned, okay, let's move off the sightseeing and talk about temperatures around our region right now. 55 in Central Park. And around the area, 100% humidity, a southeast wind at 5. The barometer is falling and the temperatures are rising in the 50s consistently. Here's the latest as we look at our radar picture. That cold front is still with us, though it has made progress. The bulk of the rain off to the east, and it should start, well, sputtering out early this afternoon. The forecast for today says the clouds will persist, so also will the rain. And you know what? It's conceivable we could see a bolt of lightning, a thunderstorm, much like spring. Highs right around 60 degrees, probably just falling short in the city, but achieving it over parts of New Jersey. Tonight stays cloudy, though rain will dwindle, and lows will be in the incredibly mild, for December anyway, 40s. Here's our 5-day forecast. It's calling for a tomorrow that starts with clouds, and then will slowly clear. High of only 50. Cold front, you see. It'll be windy as well. And on Wednesday, lots of sunshine. Thursday, lots of sunshine. Friday starts out with a good amount of sunshine. And then the clouds increase, and there's a chance of rain showers later in the day. Saturday, cloudy with showers to start. And then sunshine and breezy and a high of only 49 degrees. I'm up here with George and Mitch and Dave on the roof of our studio, Cindy and Jim. 3 of my pals. And I miss you, my pals in the studio. You're probably pretty comfortable, right?
Actually, yes.
Very comfortable here, Ira. We arranged the rain for you just to test everything out on your first day up there.
Well, you did a great job. This is fun. This is really fun, and I'm glad to be here with you.
Now, it is really high up there, and I know you have this height thing.
I'm not looking down.
Okay.
I'm only looking straight at the camera.
But you can see the world there. We have our window to the world here, looking out on 5th Avenue in the Plaza Hotel.
There you go.
Yeah, you got to get rid of the umbrella, Ira. Get the hair wet.
Okay, well, you know what, Jim? You come on out here and get rid of the umbrella. Man, it's pouring.
And, you know, we have our friends here. You can just walk by and wave.
So anyway, Ira, thank you very much. We'll see you in a few minutes.
All right.
See if we can't bring him into the studio
Definitely
from time to time.
We can.
During heavy snow.
When we come back, high honors for some very familiar faces.
From acting great Jason Robards to comedian Victor Borga, we'll take you to the big awards ceremony next.
Women complain, my man won't stay faithful.
I've had him cheating on me 12 times. You are the father.
Next, Dr. Joy Brown.
This afternoon at 3 on CBS-2.
The ball is ready to drop in Times Square. Now it's on to stage 2, getting the year 2000 in place. The 2000 pulled in just this morning and stand 7 feet tall. The numbers will help herald in the new millennium at midnight on the top of one Times Square building. The Waterford crystal ball will slowly drop as the crowd chants the traditional countdown to the new year.
High honors were bestowed last night on performers from the worlds of acting, dancing, and music. The Kennedy Center Lifetime Achievement Awards presented in Washington. Among the recipients, dance legend Judith Jamison of the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, comic pianist Victor Borga, actors Jason Robards and Sean Connery, and music sensation Stevie Wonder, who says he never saw his blindness as a handicap.
I think that being blind didn't mean that I could not. Definitely didn't mean, that I would not.
For me to receive this, I accept it with enormous gratitude, and I think it reflects rather marvelously on Scotland.
You can watch the entire Kennedy Center Awards broadcast right here on News 2, CBS 2, Wednesday, December 29th at 9 p.m.
Some big names.
Yeah, very big names every year. Coming up on the Martin Short Show at 4 o'clock, guests Rosie O'Donnell, Marion Ross of Happy Days, and Wayne Brady from Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Then on News 2 at 5, peculiar, eccentric, bizarre. Woody Allen's at it again. At 5 o'clock, we'll take a look at his latest movie, Sweet and Lowdown, starring Sean Penn.
Plus, we'll have this.
Indulging in too much holiday cheer this year? I'm Jennifer Dempster. In tonight's 2 for You, we'll give you some quick fixes that'll help camouflage those holiday pounds. It's coming up.
Thanks for joining us from our new home this noon. I'm Jim Rosenfield. See you tonight at 6 o'clock.
And I'm Cindy Hsu. For all you early risers, I'll be back at 5 a.m. for News 2 this morning. Have a good day.
.40, don't take chances. Take Oscal.
News 2 at 11, with expanded coverage of live breaking news, more investigations from the best reporters in town, and new ways to make your money work for you. See why more people are making the switch to News 2 at 11 tonight.
323-7400. Lark, quality built for life.